I've been hearing a whole bunch of buzz about this movie, so I had to risk my life to go see it.
Gracias por ver La Esquina de Jody. Thank you for watching Jody's Corner.
YouTube was good. It's your boy Jody Joe. Welcome to Jody's Corner. This is a review of The Northman. That movie that a lot of people have been talking about, word of mouth spreading. I mean, the trailers haven't really convinced me because they were kind of boring, if you ask me. I seen the trailer and I was like, man, this looks like whatever. It looked like some indie movie and all that. It just passed my radar. I'm not going to pay it any attention. Well, tremendous word of mouth got to my ear and said, this is Jody Joe, check that thing out. I said, okay, word of mouth, I'll go check it out. And check it out, I did. This is going to be a spoiler-free Northman review. As you guys know, this is about Vikings. Vikings. They pillage, they rape, they reave, they steal, they kill, and they kill. That's the movie. Whole lot of killing, raping, and reaving, and pillaging. But there's another story that's involved with this thing. This is a revenge story. This story takes place in Viking era times and has a prince who is being taught by his king, the father, just what it is to be king. He's about 12 years old and he's learning, that time is coming where he's going to have to, take over the mantle. So he's at that age where basically if you think about 300, remember when Leonidas took his little boy and said, go out there in the wilderness and fight bears and tigers and coyotes by yourself with a stick and a fork attached to it. Yeah, that's being a man. Kind of one of those rite of passage, be a man type of things. And some things happen and it's going to be a complete revenge story where the prince is now a king and he will exact vengeance on those who've done him and his family wrong. There's a lot of mysterious, look like dark, really weird imagery in this. I'm gonna give you guys a warning. If you guys are sensitive, religious, sensitive to certain graphic imagery, sensitive to certain violent tones in nature and spiritual things, that might make you feel uneasy, because I felt uneasy watching this movie, especially in the first 15 minutes. And then when I look back at the first 15 minutes, I wonder why that was really in the movie, because it really didn't need to be in the movie. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. There's a lot of gore, a lot of violence, a lot of blood. There's a lot of that gritty, unapologetic savagery in this movie. This movie is like the type of movie that will come out in 2005. You know what I'm saying? But it's released in 2022 in this woke trash era that we live in, where they want to judge every single last piece of thing. They're even trying to censor comedy, stand-up comedy. So the art form of making retro bold movies like this is lost. And this Northman movie is a breath of fresh air. And for me, I really did enjoy myself with this movie. It had a very stylistic way of directing. The director really did his thing here with that camera. He let those shots be a lot of following, tracking, wide open shots, not no shaky cam, not too many zoom ins, really appreciating the spectacle of what's going on. Some of the actors in this movie really did their thing. Ethan Hawke had a tremendous performance in this thing. Willem Dafoe, even though his role was small, was huge in this movie. Nicole Kidman is in this movie. She's fantastic. Alexander Skarsgård, who is the brother of the Skarsgård who was the Pennywise clown with the dangly eyes that scare the shit out of me, which both are the sons of Bill Skarsgård, which many of you guys probably don't know him from his earlier 80s, 90s movies, but you probably know him from the Thor franchise in the MCU. He plays that doctor in Thor. Let's talk about Thor Dark World, where he's in the underwear acting all crazy. Yeah, that's him. He was also in the first Avengers as well. Well, he does a fantastic job in this movie. They all have that face, that Skarsgård face. And Alexander Skarsgård looks just like his daddy, but sexier and bigger and buffer. He's so buff. There's an appearance of the Mountain from Game of Thrones. The Mountain is in this thing. They go full nonstop with the pure savagery of like at any moment things could go awry. Now listen, I have some things about this movie that I don't like, and I'll talk about them in spoiler-free fashion, so you guys don't have to worry about that. I like the style, I like the acting, I like the look, I like the directing, I like the imagery. It's questionable at times, but I dig the art. Some of the things that I had issue with was that first 15 minutes, because to be honest, when you watch this movie and then you look at that first 10 minutes of the movie, you'll realize that had nothing to do really with the rest of this plot of this movie and didn't need to be in there at all. Sad to say. Also, it sets up a revenge story and it has some really nice twists in the movie, which I like, but then it kind of like derails itself. The movie sets the character up on this journey to achieve a certain MacGuffin artifact. And once upon achieving this artifact, which is hyped up in the movie, and he's supposed to be this certain type of person with this artifact, he's supposed to be able to do things. He can't really do things with the weapon, because at the climax of the movie, you're left scratching your head like, wait, why did we go on this mission to achieve this artifact when it really has no effect on the outcome of what I'm looking at on screen? The action in this movie is really nice. The sword play is really barbaric and clumsy. And what I mean by that is like when the fighters fight, the choreography is not precise and fine and neat and clean. It's not really impressive. But I think that lends itself to the clumsy brutefulness that were the Vikings back then. These dudes had sandals with freaking shoestring straps on that motherfucker, walking around in the mud, bro. They have uneven ground and they trying to fight. Of course them fights is gonna be sloppy. If you really had a magician who could live back then and record how many Vikings broke or twisted their ankle just by walking, it would be tremendous, bro. I bet there's 1 million ankle twists a year back then. All that uneven ground and gravel step. Twisted his ankle again, did ya? Twisted me ankle. There's like no way to avoid them knees getting wrecked in a few years and those ankles getting straight snapped. Steph Curry ankles out here. But that's neither here nor there. I thought that clumsiness was part of the film. I thought that clumsiness lent itself to the brute and savagery of, living in a time where they ain't got no shoes like that. And the shoes they got, what are we doing with those? In this mud. Not doing much. Y'all ever try to walk in the mud? It's hard. Have you guys ever walked on the beach in the sand with no socks and shoes, just feet? Them calves be burning in 30 seconds. Feel like your calves is about to burst into flames. Yeah, imagine mud and soil in the thick mud and the cold and rain, bruh. Whew. It really feels like you're there is basically what I'm saying. It feels like you're in the world. It does take you on a journey. And in the theater, I'm completely immersed in this movie. It's just that it leaves questions. He is supposed to be of royalty, but then you'll realize that royalty doesn't have as much as an impact on the plot that you would expect it to have, in my opinion. You could probably get something totally different from it, but that's just how I took the film. I felt like you being the son of a king doesn't mean jack squat in this movie, which lends itself to how I feel about the first part of the film. This is a great film, in my opinion, a very good film. It's really entertaining. Some people will find it boring, who have the short attention spans, or who just ain't digging the slow type of build-up type of style. Because I'll tell you guys, in the beginning of this movie, there's not much dialogue. It's a lot of relying on what you see and what you hear as far as like context clues. Verbal dialogue doesn't hit until a little bit later. Then you're like, oh, they do talk. Because I was watching this movie, I said, oh my God, is this a movie where is this one of those movies where they're just gonna not talk? But no, they talk. So that's a good thing. So at the end of the day, I feel like The Northman is a good film, and I do recommend people go see this movie based off just the sheer fact that it's a totally different film that we have seen in a very long time, and the fact that it's actually a pretty darn good representation of a Viking movie, at least in my opinion. And with that being said, I give The Northman a solid B. That's the grade for The Northman. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Subscribe to the channel for all the movie reviews, pop culture. Check out my Patreon for anime. I'm doing Naruto, Death Note right now, Jujutsu Kaisen, Demon Slayer. Let it pop, let it show, let it glow. Thank you guys so very much for watching. I'm Jody Joe, and I'm out this thing, man. Deuces.